Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Mike's Grand Italian Adventure. If you're thinking this doesn't look like the mountains of Colorado in winter, you're right. This is the Sonoran Desert of southern Arizona. I'm actually really close to the Mexico border. Wow, this is steep. I just came up just a few minutes ago. And that's behind me. I'm just heading down this hill to get back to the main trail. And hey, I just wanted to thank everyone for your response on the first video. It was absolutely incredible. I was blown away. So thank you to everyone who watched the video and subscribed to my channel and posted a comment. I tried to answer, I think, all of those. So thank you once again. I just really appreciate it. So again, this is episode number 2, and we're just going to talk about a few things that have come up. So first of all, I changed the handle on my channel, so we'll talk about that briefly and tell you why. Also, a lot of people were asking about €1 houses in Italy, so I want to talk about that a bit because I've done a lot of reading on that and a lot of research on that already. So talk about that a bit. Also, I wanted to let you know I bought tickets, so I have flights over to Europe. So that's super exciting. And then actually that brought up a point with visas. I had to do a little research and think about that, take that into consideration when I book my flights. So anyway, we'll talk about all that stuff coming up here in just a minute. Let's get to it. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about today was the €1 house. Quite a few people have been interested in that, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen the articles just like I did. And what this generally entails, it's usually a smaller village somewhere in Italy. A lot of times they're pretty remote. There are quite a few on Sicily actually, and then in the mountains. They're spread around the whole country, but generally what it is just a lot of people have been leaving. You know, young people leave, go to the big cities where their jobs, and so what's happened is there have been these houses that are really dilapidated. And so what's happened is the city has, I don't know how they do it, what legal method they use, but essentially they condemn the house, take it over, and then they offer it for sale for €1. But there's a couple of stipulations. One, you have to put down a €5,000 deposit, and that's to ensure that you are motivated to get it fixed up. So what they do is they give you 3 years in most cases to have the house completely fixed up and livable. And if you don't accomplish that in 3 years, then you lose your deposit, you lose the property. So there's a pretty big motivation to get it done. And as I mentioned in my earlier video, some of these, in fact, most of the €1 houses, I think, are ones that are really in bad shape. So some of the ones that I've seen had holes in the roofs, rain coming directly in, completely full of trash and junk. Floors probably rotted. So you're looking at a really, really significant project. The other thing is that a lot of times these are in places that are, by definition dying. There's not many people there, so there's not always going to be a restaurant or coffee shops or things that are important to me. So it's interesting. When I started reading those articles, that's when I kind of really started thinking about Italy, and it took me a long time to kind of realize why that was appealing to me. And certainly, the price, €1, you think, wow, what a great deal. They're just giving away stuff. But in reality, it's going to be a lot more. I would imagine you're looking at a minimum of 50, 60,000 euros once you get a place like that done. But aside from the cost, the thing that really appealed to me is that here's this city that wants you to come there. They're actually encouraging you to come, and they want you to be a part of their community, and they're probably going to have some help for you. They're probably going to help you get through some of the bureaucracy, maybe even help with contractors. I'm not sure. I've looked into a few cities that have websites that have some places listed. So that was one of the things that was most appealing to me. There's a lot of places where expats are going, American, European, Canadian, and they're not always welcome. In fact, it's been changing a lot, because I've heard of stories in Mexico City, in Portugal, where they had these programs. Portugal in particular had a program where you could buy a property for a certain dollar value and then get citizenship. And I've heard they're going to actually discontinue that program, is what I'd read in an article. Another place where I know a lot of Americans and Canadians have gone is to Mexico City. And there's certain neighborhoods that are just full of North Americans now. And it's actually causing problems, because it's raising the price of property, of groceries, of coffee shops. Everything is going up in price, and the people that live there, the Mexican people that live there, are really not happy with it. So I read an article that said, I think you probably get 90 days, just like I do in Europe, when you go to Mexico. And I've heard stories of when people go to immigration in Mexico, the immigration officers are giving them 7 days, because they don't want people to stay for 3 months. So that the €1 thing, that's one of the most appealing things, is that they want someone to come there, and they will, generally, I think, help you. So that's super appealing. The other thing that was really interesting to me was that when you try to buy places on your own in these towns that don't have these programs, a lot of times a property will be split between many different members of the family, and maybe even many different generations of a family. So you could have a property where there's 20 owners. Everyone owns 1/20 of this property, and no one wants to deal with it, or it's too difficult to get the logistics together and get everyone on the same page in order to sell a place. And I guess that's part of the reason why a lot of these places have sat empty for 20 or 30 years, is just because it's just too complicated to figure it out. So when the cities come through and just says, we're taking it and we're going to sell it, that's why those programs are really, really interesting to me. So it eliminates a lot of that difficulty and the challenge for figuring all that legal stuff. And already Italy is known for bureaucracy. So I can't imagine if you have 20 owners and you're trying to get them all together in order to buy a place that it can be an easy thing. So the likelihood that I'll get a €1 house is pretty low. The other thing I want to say is I've heard stories where a municipality will have like 10 €1 houses, and they'll get 100,000 emails. So it's really, really unlikely that there would be one available that would A, not be bid up quite a bit higher, B, would fit the criteria that I mentioned in my first video, and then C, that is actually available. They're bought immediately. But the good thing is there's a lot of other properties, and I have been looking already. There's a lot of other properties that are 10, 15, 20, 25, 30,000 euros that are almost move-in ready. Some even furnished. So you can show up and, maybe scrape some peeling paint and change the furniture or whatever. But, a lot of them are in pretty good condition. So That's more likely what I'm going to be looking for over there, what I'm going to find. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention was that I changed my handle for my YouTube channel. So that's the text after YouTube to get directly to my channel. So on the original opening video, introduction video, you'll see the handle was @thelifeofmike, DOTCOM. And that's because I have a website called thelifeofmike.com that I've had for a long time, and I post travel stuff up on there and thoughts and whatnot. But I noticed that there were several YouTube channels that were The Life of Mike, and I didn't want there to be any confusion or difficulty finding my channel. So I changed my handle, and if you noticed, you might have noticed on the opening credits today, the handle is Around the World with Mike. So if you go to youtube.com/@Around the World with Mike, that'll come directly to my channel. Yeah, that one was available. I didn't see any other ones that were out there that were similar to that, so it should be kind of easy to find it if you want to. I use them sometimes if I'm on my smart TV and I'm trying to find a channel, so that's where it's helpful there as well. So just make a note of that. Around the World with Mike, @Around the World with Mike. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about is some exciting news. I bought my tickets. So I bought my flights over to Europe. Flights plural, so I'm going once in the spring, once in the fall. And it was pretty interesting because actually I had a trip planned this spring to China that ended up not working out. So I thought, well, I might as well go over to Europe. And that was also one of the reasons why I decided to launch this channel at this time. So I will be there for 2 months this spring, and I was originally planning on being there 2 months in the fall, but after I booked my flight for the spring, I realized that that's not going to work because I only get 90 days and 180 days as an American. So yeah, so how that works, I think, I wanted to be sure, but I did some research online and checked out the U.S. State Department guidelines. And what it is you have 90 days in a 180-day period. So, I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, I haven't traveled to Europe for 90 days. Then I'm going to go for 90 days. Okay, so that's 180 days. So now I got another 180 days after that. But I don't think that's how it works. I think the way it is 90 days in any 180-day period. So let's say I go in May, so I have 6 months, May to September, to spend 3 months there once I come in. So if I went there for 2 months this spring and then went for 2 more months this fall, I don't think I would have been able to do that. So anyway, what I did is I'm going for 50 days in the spring and I'm going for 27 days in the fall. So that gives me, 37 days in the fall. So that gives me 87 days. So I'm just under the 90-day limit. So now there's no questions, it should work fine. But I would have liked to have stayed a little bit longer. September and October are some of the best times of year to be in anywhere around the Mediterranean for sure. Most of Europe, but for sure Southern Europe and the Mediterranean. Just an incredible time of year. Much fewer people, prices are less expensive, beaches are less crowded, weather's still fantastic, the water's still warm in the ocean. Yeah, just a really, really good time to be there. But that's okay, I'll be there for a month and it's gonna be fantastic. And then even better, I'll be there for 2 months this spring, so that's coming up real quick. Less than 2 months from now, so that's really good news. All right, one of the other things I really wanted to talk about today was also the motorcycle connection with this trip to Italy. So you'll notice, obviously today I'm out riding motorcycles, and in the first video I talked about that I'd be exploring Italy on motorcycle, and the reason that is it's just one of my huge passions in life. 2 of them, really 3 of them are going to come into play on this adventure. Motorcycle riding we've discussed, travel, obviously, and remodeling, construction, kind of that creativity of remodeling. So motorcycles have just been a passion of mine, man, forever. And I really think it started when I was a kid watching Chips and Ponch and John riding their motorcycles around. If people aren't familiar with that, it was a TV show from the 80s called Chips, California Highway Patrol. That's like a nickname for the highway patrol there. So there were two highway patrolmen, Ponch and John, and they rode motorcycles. They were partners, and man, just, solved simple crimes and things like that. But I loved that show, and as a kid riding my bicycle around, and I would park it with my buddies, like they did, next to each other, lined up. And I just always loved motorcycles. They were from the time I was a kid. So when I got my first motorcycle, when I moved out here to college, or to Colorado after college, absolutely just fell in love with it. And I've had a motorcycle ever since. So I have 3 motorcycles now, actually 4. I have one in Europe. Last fall, I went over to Europe and bought a motorcycle. I was going to rent one, but I was going to be renting it for a month or more. And I looked at it, and by the time I went around and shopped for a used one, it was about the same price to buy one. So now I have one over there. My buddy is storing it for me. And then I have 3 here in Colorado. I've got this beauty here, Husqvarna FE501, great dual sport bike. I can ride out here. It's street legal too, so I rode it here from town. That's incredible, just really fun. And then I have an adventure bike that can ride off-road as well and is street legal. It's designed really more for longer distance touring and things like that. And then I have a 1000cc street bike that is fast, and oh my God, is that fun to ride. But it's also really super comfortable, so it's good for a touring bike. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm gonna be exploring Italy on motorcycle and checking out the towns. And there's just something about it. If you've never ridden motorcycle, it's hard to explain. It's just, you're in the environment instead of protected from it with a windshield and doors and windows all around you. So you feel the road, you feel the wind. It's just, it's incredible. A lot of us joke that when you haven't ridden for a while, like, man, I need some 2-wheel therapy. And that's exactly what it is. There's just something about it. It's like you get out on the road and, your brain is working really hard because there's a lot going on around you that you have to pay attention to. So, you're looking up ahead to see if there are any deer in the trees and they're going to jump out in the road. You're looking at the road surface to see if there's potholes. You're looking in your mirror behind you to see if there's a car coming up going to pass you. At intersections, you're looking, is this car going to stop from the right? Someone going to turn in front of you when you're out in the country? So, it may sound like it's terrifying because there's all these dangers, but you just get used to it over time. And what happens is your brain is so busy, kind of analyzing all this data around it, that it just clears everything out of your mind. It's like a Zen feeling, I guess. I don't know. I don't really meditate, but I think maybe riding a motorcycle is kind of like meditation. So that's the reason why this is a big part of the adventure for me. And I think it will continue to be for a very long time. Okay, one last thing I wanted to talk about before I sign off. I think there had been a little bit of confusion that I was going to be moving to Italy permanently at this time. So I did mention it, I think, in my first video briefly, but I do plan on keeping my house in Colorado and then using this place in Italy as a home base for exploring more. And there's a very good chance over time that I'll start to spend more time and apply for a long-term visa. And, there's a very good chance that I'll end up maybe moving there or spending more time. But for right now, I'm going to stick with the tourist visa that we get. So that's 180 days maximum per year, 90 days in any 180-day period. And I'll keep my place in Colorado because, because I love Colorado too, and I love here the West. I mean, Arizona's close, New Mexico's close, Utah's close, and then Colorado's got a lot of what I love. So, so just a little update on that.